Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Tarot Talk Show. I'm your host, George Duss, and it's so good to be with you again on our fourth episode. How have you been since our last conversation? In episode 3, we talked about resistance, those moments when a card like the Tower, Death, or the Devil shows up and it makes our stomach just drop. We explored how the cards we resist most often carry the medicine we need the most. I hope you've had a chance to notice which cards or even which life experiences brought up resistance for you, and whether sitting with them has opened new insights. Today's episode is a milestone for the show because for the very first time, I'm welcoming a guest into our circle. Joining me is Max Olivieri, the heart behind Celestial Harmony readings and Reiki. Max's spiritual path began with a spiritual fascination for the unseen. Grew up through his studies in anthropology, exploring world traditions, and was forever shaped by a transformative sweat lodge experience. Today, he offers readings and Reiki that weave together spirit, energy, and wisdom from many traditions. Together, we'll explore how different cultures approach divination and healing, and what indigenous wisdoms can teach us about reading the signs life places all around us. So take a deep breath with me and exhale, settle in, grab your favorite drink, close your eyes unless you're driving, and let's begin. Max, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here to start us off. Where are you joining us from today?
Well, George, thank you for that. I am joining you from my Zen den in my home. It's where I have where I do my readings as well as where I do my Reiki.
Oh, nice. So a lot of people kind of confuse us a bit on at fairs because we're almost like doppelgangers with our bald heads, and we're both from St. And good looks too, yeah. And we're both from St. Catherine, so it freaks people out at fairs. So usually they want Max and they come to me, and then the other way around. So, so anything. So is that space part of your reading practice, or where do you usually read? From home, or?
Well, I do a bunch of things. Like, for example, as you know, I do the shows and I read from home as well. I do virtual readings. I do readings at also shows, like the ones that I've been a part of. I'm also reading at a spiritual shop called Thrive Mind, Body, and Spirit, and we have a really good special going on this Thursday. Which is $50 for 30 minutes, which it's unheard of. They think and I'm doing it in honor of the shop owner's 50th birthday.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm starting to dive in a little bit to like doing shops and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It brings a different clientele and different people to expose what you do.
Yeah, and there's a new Gothic candy store that just opened up last week. What is it called? The anthropology chocolatier? I don't know what it was, but they're in St. Catharines, and they even have a little sign, a big sign, psychic on duty. So it's
that's cool. That'd be cool.
So
that'd be cool to do there.
So yeah, whenever there's a psychic in the store, people can see it when they're driving by downtown St. Catharines. So they're at 1 King Street. So, but.
Cool.
All right. So what was the last card or symbol that really stopped you in your tracks?
I would say the Tower card.
Oh, the Tower card.
The Tower card. Yes, the Tower card stopped me in my tracks. I don't know if you've had a dark night of the soul, George, but I had one that lasted 3 months. And it just it was almost like a beautiful destruction of my life. So that more can come through, right? So like whenever I get the Tower card, I associate it with that beautiful destruction that happens in your life, which we now know is to usher in the new and the good and the better. But at the time you're going through it, you don't realize that. And it's always interesting because it doesn't matter how many dark nights of the soul that you have, And it doesn't matter that you have that understanding that it's for your betterment. You still get freaked out about it, right? So when I get the Tower card for my personal readings, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. No, some people get the Tower card, go, oh my God, what's it like? I'm going,
Yeah,
hey, calm down, calm down. Because I use the Lightseers deck, so it's a
right.
little bit more calming. It's a tree, and the lightning hits the tree, but there's a little squirrel and rabbit at the bottom
Mhm.
of the tree, and I say, hey, these animals are not fleeing from the lightning; they're staying put, so they're watching. Um, you know, something kind of destruct, so something else can grow because there's lush kind of
Right.
lush garden grass around them. So, we always have to have those tower moments, and trust me, I've always had those tower moments all the time.
Yeah.
So I talked about in the last episode, and the Ten of
hmm
Swords too. Um, yeah, Ten of Swords.
No, that's really the Tower card is the only real one that I just shut around. That's all. That's the only real. In the beginning, when I was younger in tarot, I actually got nervous about the Death card as well, or the Devil. Ooh.
No.
But after that, I started to realize that they're just Jungian archetypes, anyways.
So, do you remember the first divination tool or spiritual practice that you felt truly called to?
Hmm. Would be this deck right here. It is the Archangel Michael Angel deck. I have it here. I still use it to this day. It's my first divination tool that I ever used. As far as practices, I think I was always sort of ritualistically minded. Um, always asking for signs and stuff like that in my early life, and getting them, and just allowing that to come into fruition.
So, was that deck a gift, or did you go to a
It was
store?
a gift. It was a gift given to me by the person that taught me to read, believe it or not. And they actually saw this. They saw this deck, and it's got the archetypes of the Empress and Decision and stuff like that. It's Yeah, it was a gift, and I was taught to read on it. I did my readings, my free readings, on Facebook for a while, and then after that, I actually went and actually learned intuitive reading, and it's because that's the type of readings I do, is everything's intuitive. Decided that, yeah, this is something I could do.
Oh, awesome. So, did you really click with the deck right away, or
I
was
did,
it a
I
bit of
did,
a?
because I did, because I mean, I would look at the deck and I would say, okay, situation has ended. You're like, for example, this card here, situation has ended, and you're finally free. New opportunities for happiness will now follow. Put the past behind you, and that's almost like the messages in this deck is very uplifting, right? So there isn't really a bad message in the deck, which is what a lot of people I find that come to me are afraid of. Like, oh, you're not going to tell me something I don't want to know, right?
No, I know. And one of the great things I like about the Lightseers deck is
hmm
the swords. They're not
hmm
swords; they're
Yeah.
actually crows, and I find it, and like even with the Ten of Swords, it's a woman. She's kind of walking away on a hillside, and
Right.
it's kind of all nice and sunny where she's heading to, and there's a whole bunch of crows
hmm
following her. So that's all, like her. I always say spirit guides and stuff like that. So more better card than the guy laying down and
hmm
with a whole bunch of swords like stabbed in the back. So
Right.
and that's why I like the Lightseers deck a lot more because it's a lot more empowering, but it does have its shadow side. So
Yeah.
they all
Go ahead.
do, yeah. Everybody, I have like 50 decks here,
hmm
Oracle and tarot cards, and they're all different. So I was looking at your website, and on your website, you mentioned that you started using a witch's deck, and it scared you due to the accuracy. And then you later consulted a Christian priest who told you to stay away from the cult. Can you elaborate
Yeah.
on that story?
Yeah. I was reading. I was using a witch's deck. It actually had a pentagram on the back of it, and very very beautiful pictures. But I was really accurate with some people and telling them about their life. And I went to a priest. And I said, look, this is something I can do. I mean, I feel like I should be doing this. And he said, no. He said, this is of the devil. You should not participate in this. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I was young. I was about 15 at the time, and I'm like, I guess the priest knows what he's talking about. So I destroyed the deck, and my life went to shit. Literally, my life just went to shit, and I had a difficult teenage years. And later on, when I picked this up, when I got this deck, I just started embracing it, and embracing it is what was needed for my life to get on track. And now, yeah, it was, so like sometimes when we go to the certain spiritual advisors that we have, they don't mean to give you bad advice, but I don't think they think of what it is for the person. Does that make sense?
Yep, totally.
I mean, whereas like for example, it's all when the priest said it's of the occult. Well, Moses, when he brought the plagues onto Egypt, how is that not a curse? When Moses changed his staff into a snake, how is that not magic? When Jesus took 6 loaves of bread and 6 fish and 6 loaves of bread and fed many, how is that not magic? So I mean, I think that because of one verse in the Bible, people blow what we do out of proportion, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinterpretations, and people interpret the Bible in slightly different ways, even like different organizations, church organizations, and stuff like that. Whatever wherever you belong to has a slight variation, So, and we talked about this earlier today, going pretty much in depth.
So basically, the way it unfolded for me was once that happened and I embraced it, I actually went to university, and believe it or not, I was always a devout Christian or devout Catholic. So I went looking for God and decided that I could find God in anthropology and understanding the different sort of belief systems around the world. So that's what I did. I took an anthropology course, courses rather. I have my degree in sociocultural anthropology, and studied everything from the Kung Bushmen to the Aborigines of Groote Island, and as well as the Cree of Ontario, where I actually underwent a sweat lodge, which is fantastic. That sweat lodge changed my life.
We'll get into that more.
Yeah,
because I'm fascinated about this sweat lodge. But we're talking tarot. We're not talking church. So
no, we're not. No, we should get off that topic.
That's a whole different show and a whole different channel.
Yeah,
maybe it's another new channel I need to start. But anyways, I love starting this way. It gives us a feeling of where you are now and not just what you do. It makes me curious about how that path unfolded for you. Okay, welcome back. So how did the tarot first come into your life?
As I said, I dated a psychic medium, and she bought me the deck. And well, that's not how it first came in. I guess it always came in. My grandmother would read my stuff or my future with Italian playing cards. So there's only 40 in a deck. I don't know if you know the Italian playing card deck, but she would do that with me. And then I became fascinated with it. I started to do it, and then I had that incident where I kind of like shut myself down from it. And then it was later brought back into my life through that person I dated who brought me this deck. And then once I did that, I just embraced it. If there's a use for me to do this for others and help others, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, we all kind of start off a thing and eventually say, hey, we're supposed to help people. That's what light workers are. That's how exactly we kind of evolve. People get wakened and then go, hey, there's something to it. And then we start being light workers. So for me, it's tarot. I'm starting off. For other people, it's like mediums because they've seen people when they were kids and stuff like that. But it's always fascinating how people coming, and surprising enough, every light worker, I talk to every reader that we've encountered, and all the light workers, they all have a traumatic story behind them, and that's kind of the trigger of how these things happen. So I guess
Yeah, and
we're
I
the
have a traumatic story as well. Uh, so I kind of lost touch with reality at one point in my life, and I later came to assert that that's when my abilities were actually coming in full force. I had shoved them in the back burner for so long that they're like, "No, Max, you got to do this, and this is, and you're not gonna, we're gonna teach you a very serious lesson until you learn to embrace it." So I actually had a crisis of consciousness where I actually was involved, not involved, but I actually witnessed a bank robbery. As I witnessed, and this was in university. I can't remember, but I believe it was after or before the native swim. But in university, I witnessed a bank robbery, and I was taking martial arts at the time, was paying my tuition, came out, went back to get something in the bank, and realized it's like closed for due to robbery. And I knocked on the window. I said, "Listen, I was just in here. Maybe I can help you." So I came in and I did. I meditated and was able to access my unconscious mind and give a description of the person who's the robber. So I did that, and then I had a crisis of conscience, and it became this. The question that kept ringing in my ear was, "Who am I? Maybe this person did this action to feed their family. Maybe this person is under stress. Maybe this person isn't thinking with the right. It doesn't have the capacity for right and wrong or whatever." But at any rate, that happened, and that kind of forced me to relook at my abilities and say, you know what, I just might as well.
Yeah, because with the bank robber, you don't know their life story, so
You don't.
until you find
And
out.
the thing is
And
yeah,
and sorry to interrupt, but there may be a reason. It may not
right,
be just like a criminal intent. It's like, oh my god,
exactly,
like my family's dying because I can't feed them or something like that. So,
exactly. Or my
uh,
mother needs this operation that costs so much money,
yeah,
um, and hip's not covering it. So like there's so many different things, different angles that we don't think of, and I was bombarded by all that, and it's like this is all otherworldly. And interestingly enough, at the same time, I was working as a bouncer. So law and order was basically what I did, which is why I went forward in the first place. But then what happened was I actually touched someone who was ready to fight, and I calmed them right down just by touching him. And that was my first experience with Reiki.
oh nice. Before you even did the atonement and
Before I
all
even
that
took the,
stuff,
before I even did the atonement.
kind of, yeah, really fascinating. But do you resist it at first or fall right in? But you kind of already elaborated a little bit. Oh, okay. Do you want to? Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
resisted. I resisted. They dragged me kicking and screaming to accept this. They dragged me kicking and screaming.
oh, okay.
My guides dragged me kicking and screaming.
Nice. Nice. Okay. How has your relationship with the cards and spirituality evolved? Was it from book learning to intuition?
It's always been intuition, and the intuition has grown. So I would look at, like, I can look at for example, this. I'm showing a card with 4 of Raphael, which is in the deck that I started. I could look at this deck, and sometimes I know to ignore the picture and just read the words. But at other instances, when I'm reading someone else, the picture is more important than the words, and I just intuitively know when that is. Like, if you look at the picture, the woman is kind of like distraught. She's kind of like in her own little world. She's kind of like just playing in the little thing, but she kind of looks kind of down because she's playing by herself, right? Yet there's a dragonfly all around her. There are dragonflies all around her, which initiate transformation. So to someone, I would say that they're going to transform. This moment that you're feeling depressed or you're feeling down on yourself will transform. And then the message says, seek other possibilities, look for the magic in life, be aware of your own emotions. Kind of like it's a very generic way. It's not a very generic way of reading. It's more of a feel, so to speak. You have to feel the client out, and you have to feel it. That's how I do.
Yeah, it's sort of how I do it too. But it's kind of interesting that depending on the sitter and the situation and how the reading's going, it's kind of interesting that you either pick the whatever the wording is, or the images, and you kind of decide which is which. Kind of fascinating.
Well, it's not even that I'm deciding, because I'm not deciding. I'm being led to give the interpretation. So it's because I've surrendered completely. I've surrendered completely to the process. The act I have, as you may or may not know, I have a multitude of decks. The very act of me picking a deck to read for a sitter is part of the experience. If I don't think that, like, if not leads me to think that I'm making a decision, I'm not making a decision. It's like I know instinctively which deck to use, right? When it comes to the sitter, and that ultimately brings an experience to the sitter that, like, I had someone say to me yesterday, who I did a reading for a friend yesterday, and she said it's the most amazing thing. It was an epic reading. It was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. Not to keep tooting my own horn, but that goes from me picking the cards for her to doing the animal message, which I give in every reading, as well as the angel. And I used Libromancy, and that's something that just completely fell into. I didn't even know that was a thing until someone actually told me.
Yeah, the best readings are just when you just let go and just don't even think about it. So when you think about it, that's when things can kind of go haywire. But
right.
So at the beginning, were you kind of like, obviously you were kind of nervous when you started doing some readings. So what was the key turning point from coming out of that nervousness to being more confident?
Okay, so I actually did a meetup once when I was very early reading, and I'd only been reading on Facebook, just a general reading, and I actually went to a meetup, and I gave a reading to someone at the meetup, and they said, you know what, I would pay $40, $50 for this. No problem. Not hands down, no problem. This is a fantastic reading. That actually gave me the confidence I needed to say, you know what, maybe I could do this. And then it's like, okay, well, I do want to do something with this, and so then I started doing it.
It's always the meetup groups. As I mentioned in one of my episodes, was the meetup group with the elderly gentleman and having Lenormand cards, and I drew the fox, snake, and bouquet, and it was like, oh my god, this guy's having some really good sex and stuff with that. And it's like, and but it's like that snake is kind of leery, but the bouquet kind of he's showering her with gifts. So I'm going, okay, there's like two other people, there's four of us in the breakout room, and it was like, I can't explain this to this guy, and the other two were women, right? So in the room, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to tell him. And he was like totally blown away by the reading. He says, oh yeah, like I just started dating, and she's an amazing woman, and yeah, we're having a really good times, and yes, I do shower her with gifts. And I said, just be careful, she doesn't use you. So
and that's important. I mean, I've had messages where I've had to give certain people messages, and I know what happens if I don't give the message. My life goes to shit. So I don't even think about it anymore. Okay, I'm going to throw it out there, and I even say it like that. I'm going to just throw this out there. It's something that I know that if I don't do, my life suffers. So I like life. I like a good life. I want to be happy. I'm not going to let my personal ego, because that's what it is. It's your ego, stop you from conveying the message.
Exactly. It's always the ego. Damn ego.
It is the damn ego. But we need the ego. It keeps us safe, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it can get us in trouble, but
this is true.
Yeah. Your website mentions that your spiritual journey started with a fascination for the unknown. I'm always the same way. I always like the unknown. Can you share an early memory from your childhood that really opened your eyes to the spirit?
Yeah, it was, I have a couple actually. First thing I remember about being between 3 and 5 years old, and I would dream that I was in church, at this church that we would go to as a family. They had these sort of like checkerboard on the wall behind where the crucifix was. I would see that, like, almost a compartment where the flat compartment of the wall would slide open, and a Muppet would be there, and it'd be like playing. And this is in my dream. And I just took that later in life as the angels were playing with you at that time. because because of the symmetry with it being in church. It is something of an experience from God. That's how I took it. Another episode was or another situation when I was a child was I had a very good manager at my first job, and he told me that he actually saw his guardian angel. And I said, "Well, I want to do that." So he told me what to do, and I don't recommend doing it. And I said, "Okay, a guardian angel, you can come to me in a dream, you can come to me however you want, but I'd like to see you with my eyes." And I did what he said to do. And then as I'm falling asleep, I woke up suddenly and I noticed a silhouette on my door of what looked like a winged figure. So the angel stood outside my door, but I could not see the actual figure itself. All I could see was a silhouette. And I thought that I was like, and I went to look to see what's making that shadow, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing there to make that shadow. So it was kind of really weird to sort of to try and explain it. But yeah, it was like the light was hitting the door in a way, and it just looked like a winged being. And yeah, you could say that, oh, well, that's just your imagination. Well, yeah, it could be. But I had the intention of seeing an angel like that, and I did. So is it intention? Is it a figment of my imagination? I don't think so.
That's
I don't think
intention.
so. And
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then there's been other stuff in my life before I actually became very serious into reading, where I would have dreams and feel the presence of the archangels. And when they're around, you know they're around because it's just like a big bang presence. They just like appear, and it's a presence. And yeah, and it's an amazing. I live an amazing life.
It's always good. I'm glad you are like the energy and like when I see you at shows and stuff like that, the energy that you put out is totally incredible. It's a sight to see, and it's a great experience for you. So, but
thank you, George. You humble me.
You're welcome. So, and so later you study anthropology, immersing yourself in traditions from around the world. So how did that academic work shape your relationship with spirituality? That's kind of a fascinating.
So basically,
I'm logical too, so it's like the logical,
right,
spiritual thing.
So I took my anthropology course really on a flip of a coin, okay, because I changed my major. I was initially going to be a psychology major, and then become a criminal lawyer. I wanted to put people in jail. But I actually had an interaction with a professor who kind of changed my mind on that because he knew how righteous my love for the law was, and he said that perhaps you may want to try different type of law. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I decided that I was going to change my major. I was either going to do sociology or anthropology. I really wanted to get closer to God. That was ultimately, as a Catholic kid, that's what you want. You want to be close to God. I always said, if God can use my life, I would allow it. I would want that. But I wasn't sold on being a priest, so that was never going to happen. I like women too much. At any rate, so I went into anthropology. I met this professor, Dr. David Turner, who was he was the emissary to the West for the Groote Island Aborigines. And he talked about the beauty in the Aborigines in their beliefs. And I listened to that. And I'm like, wow. So the Aborigines believe that vibration is the only constant in existence. And vibration is what created the universe. So I thought about that. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then I looked at what science says. And science says there was a big bang, right? Well, there has to be a vibration for there to be a bang, doesn't there? So I'm like, okay, so these guys are bang on. Like these Aborigines, the Aborigines of Groote Island, they're bang on with their belief system. And then I started to see. I said, okay, well, maybe the indigenous peoples of the world are the ones that we at the West, the East, everyone should be listening to. And I do believe that. They do have a different outlook on life. They do have a sense of community, and that actually facilitated me into wanting to learn more about it. So Dr. David Turner gave me a paper to do. He said, we want you to take part of a religious experience, not of your own religion. And I walked up to him after he announced that, and I said, "Sir, no offense. I've taken I've learned about every major religion in the world. I don't want to do something mainstream. What else? What suggestions do you have?" And he said, "Well, how would you like to do a sweat with the natives?" And I said, "I'd love to." He says, "Here's my TA's number. Give her a call, and we'll make it happen." And I did, and I did it, and little Max, 22, 21, 22 years old, keener, wanting to get the most out of this experience as he can, showed up for a sweat that started at 7 p.m. or dark in cold November night at like 4 o'clock. And I showed up there and walked up to I didn't know it was a shaman at the time, but I walked up to the shaman and I said, "Is there anything I can do to help prepare for this one?" And he said, "Sure." He said, "I had these 2 big bags of cedar." And he showed me 2 garbage bags full of cedar. He goes, "We want this sweat to be about life. So what I want you to do is go through each and every leaf in this cedar and make sure that the brown cedar is not part of what you leave." So I was picking brown dead cedar off of living cedar. And I did that.
How long did that take you?
Well, I showed up at 4. The sweat wasn't until 7. He showed up around 7 and said, "Are you done yet?" And I still had a half bag left. So I said no. He goes, "That's enough. That's enough. You're fine. Yeah, you've done enough cedar." So we came in.
You've done your lesson.
Said, "Yeah, I've done my lesson." So we came to the sweat. If you ever had a sweat done, I do recommend it. In fact, on a later paper I wrote, where I had to create a religion of my own understanding, I actually incorporated the sweat into it. But anyway, that's another story. At any rate, we entered the sweat a certain way. When you're in the sweat, so there's a bonfire that goes on during the day, and it's going on. It starts in the morning, and it goes on until the sweat. And inside the bonfire, they have the grandfather and grandmother stones, and that is the stones wisdom. So you come into the sweat, and they bring the stones in one at a time. They pour water onto it, as well as sweetgrass and other herbs, for you to experience the sweat. And my sweat was very hot, very, very hot. What's interesting, and I won't go too in detail about this because I promised I wouldn't, was when they called in the animal spirit, it tapped my knee. When they called in the 4 corners of the earth, I heard the teepee shake. I felt the winds in the sweat. So, not understanding anything that, because I'm a white kid, man, I don't know what this means. After we exited the sweat, and everything that happened in the sweat stays in the sweat. We exited the sweat. I walked up to the shaman and I said, "Sir, you have to excuse me. I have nothing to compare this experience to. What kind of animal was it?" And I had heard a skunk on the way up to the sweat lodge, so I was afraid it was a skunk. He goes, "No, if it was a skunk, you would have smelled it." And he explained to me that it was a prairie dog that came in and tapped my knee. So I felt it tap my knee, and I was like, I thought there was literally an animal in the darkness in the street, in the sweat lodge. And I said, and then when the teepee felt like it was breathing, and the winds that I heard, I mean, what was that about? And he said, and then he just stopped me. He didn't really explain it. He just stopped me. And he said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "Are you native?" I said, "No, I'm Italian. I speak it and everything." He goes, "How many sweats have you been to?" It was my first one. He said, "Wow." I go, "Wow, what happened? I felt like I'd done something wrong." He goes, "No, it's very rare for a white man to experience everything you've experienced in their first sweat." And then in the same breath, he said, "Let's go have some." Because at the end of the sweat, there's a potluck. So I had brought some stuff. Everybody brought stuff, and we went and had the potluck. He said, "Let's go have some potluck." So that was kind of cool. It was a life-changing experience. Basically, what I got out of that experience was that there is an unseen world out there. I want to serve it. And for a while, I struggled on how I would serve it. But if you look at my career in my secular life, I've been of service. I've done customer service, so I've been serving people in other ways. This is just another way to serve, and for me, it's a higher calling and a higher level of service.
Yeah, it's just like me. Like I help not spiritually, but I help companies throughout my life and with their IT stuff and helping other people. friends and family and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a natural progression to being a light worker and using the different divination tools that we kind of inherit and study and
or relearn.
or relearn. Yeah. So that kind of the sweat lodge really changed your path
Yeah.
as far as So what at what point did you realize that this wasn't just exploration anymore, and that this was your calling to serve through readings and Reiki?
Wow, it's a great question. Okay, so what happened was I continued in my life in customer service. I had the benefit of learning neurolinguistic programming, NLP, from a really, really gifted master NLP practitioner. I thought that that's how I was going to serve. But then that evolved. Because I had an NLP practice where I was doing coaching and life coaching and stuff like that through NLP, and neurolinguistic programming, and timeline therapy and hypnosis. And I thought that's how I would serve. But then when I was introduced to cards, I'm like, no, that's not how I'm here to serve. And oddly enough, the NLP practitioner was using cards. So the cards
A lot do.
kind of just became a natural progression, and it just seemed to make sense to me. And I like to say that when you sit with me and we go through the reading, you're also being healed, because I always have, sometimes I divinely trigger people, and I don't mean to do that, but it's necessary.
We're going to dive into how you practice and stuff for that on the next segment. So listening to you, I hear that each step opened the door for the next. It really paints a picture of how your practice grew from lived experience rather than just theory. Which brings me now to, how does that look like when someone sits with you today? So welcome back. I'm here with Max Olivieri, and so we're going to talk about spiritual philosophy and practices now. So how do you describe what happens in a celestial harmony reading?
Okay, so basically, it's not for everyone. If you want me to connect to your dead grandmother or dead grandfather, that's not me. That's not how I read. It's more of the people that come to me are someone's that are that need healing in some area of their life. Usually, I always start with the main deck that I picked up, that I got first, and I use that to look at the life, a year in their life. So from this
What deck is
point,
that? Sorry.
that's the Archangel Michael, Doreen Virtue Archangel Michael. So I use that deck to look at the life. So I'll look at the year in life from this point, from the point of the reading to a year in the future, at the same time at the point of the reading. So the first card usually is past, present, immediate future, and then 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. It's a 7 card. And from what comes out of that helps me decide what next step. If, for example, Michael shows up a lot, I have a sort of light deck from my Archangel Michael, who he will give me messages, and they're pretty on point. So I'll use that. If Raphael shows up, I have a Raphael deck which I'll use, and I use that in a specific way as to what area of health you need to concern yourself. So I'll go either that way, and then I look at other decks as well. Then at some point, depending on how long the reading is, I would go to another deck which has chakra cards in the deck. And what was told to me by my guides is that that when a chakra card comes up, that's a blockage. And I'm like, oh, okay. And my guide's like, you're a Reiki master, you can remove that. So I will include that in the reading, clearing whatever chakra comes up. So like, for example, it's this deck here. And I'll see if I can find one of the cards. So like this is it here. It's like, this is the sacral chakra. It's a yellow book with the orange light. If that comes up, usually it has to do with security. They were not safe as children. So there are different exercises that I will employ in the moment, like a triage, to sort of get that to be resolved. And then I'll take their hands and I'll ask them to concentrate on their solar plex chakra and let me know when the buzzing has grown. And when it's grown, I know that the thing is done, that the healing is done for that particular chakra. From there, I always go to either I ask them what their favorite animal is, and I'll read what the message is from their favorite animal. I'll ask them if they have a number that they see, and I'll read from their favorite number because that has a message for them as well. And then I do what's called libromancy, and I will flip through the book, thinking of the person that's across from me, and whatever I land on, ultimately, whether it's a number or an animal, that message is for them. And I would say 99.9% of the time, it ties up everything that we've talked about during the reading.
Yeah, we did a practice run this morning, and it was like, holy crap, he was dead on. So with me, so it's like, so it does work, but
Yeah.
And I didn't put intention or anything. It just, it's amazing how things just, you need to get the right message at the right time, and it was a perfect message.
And I'm humbled
that I need.
And I'm humbled that Spirit chooses to use me like that. I'm really humbled by it.
Yeah. No, I'm totally grateful. The more I get to help people, and if I can help people, like making a difference, like doing these podcasts and all the social media stuff, if I can reach one person to make a difference, it's just worth it, for me.
Look at it. This is what my mentor said to me. He said, if you can help one person, and that person that you've helped goes on to help thousands and millions of others, was it worth it to help that person?
Exactly. It is.
So I look at it as I'm throwing a stone in the person's pool of water. I don't see what happens with the ripples.
It's a very interesting analogy. I love it.
Thank you.
It's so awesome. So do you see Reiki, I can never pronounce that. See Reiki and divination as separate channels, or do they flow together into one current?
They flow together. I mean, I was taught how to use a crystal grid during when I became a master Reiki. And the crystal grids were that I set up were for healing. Now you can set up a crystal grid for anything, prosperity, healing, relationship, to bring good energy into a relationship. There are crystal grids for happy households. So you can do that. You can use that divination, and that is also the Reiki energy that is coming in to do that. So I see it all as one.
I love the way you described that, like two rivers flowing into one current. So that's awesome. And, we all kind of use our different tools, and we can kind of combine it. So I'm not there yet with the Reiki thing, but eventually I will.
Maybe I'll teach you one day.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'll be fortunate to teach.
So on your site, you mentioned creating a safe and sacred space. What does that look like for you in a practice, and how do you prepare before a reading? So
how I prepare a sacred space is I cleanse. I use sage before a reading, and then how I prepare by saging, cleansing the room. I also prepare the energy of the room, and I use Reiki symbols to do that. Everyone that has come into my Zen Den says this place is amazing because it's just such a relaxing environment, and it's specifically done to do that. At readings at other places, like when I'm that, I have sprays that I use for protection. I've learned that after a reading, sometimes what I need to do is clear myself and cut the cord to that person. So I have a ritual that I do for that, and it's become very, like, I don't know if you knew me at one point. I was a very intense guy. Someone once said to me, one of the fellow readers at our shows said, picture this hamster in your head. I'm like, yeah. What's it doing? And I said, it's running a mile a minute. I wasn't sleeping, so she said, what? She said to me, why don't you take it off, let it have a drink, let it have a nap, maybe something to eat. And I just calmed right down. That night I slept. So it's interesting. So there's these different sort of visualization techniques that I use.
Visualization techniques is really good. I think I mentioned to you, I'm reading that the Psychic Art of Tarot, that book, and he's all into visualization. I do want to do a show just specifically on his book, on that book. It just blows my mind away. But how do you believe divination itself works? Is it spirit? Is it energy, psychology, or all the above?
I think it's a bit of all of the above, but I think what you did leave out, which I was surprised you left it out, is intention. I
Ah,
think intention has a lot to do with it as well.
yes,
Um,
we do have to have intention. So,
yeah, because without intention, you're kind of like you can do all the divination in the world, but if there's no intention for it, it's not going to do what it wants. It's not going to do what you want. But yeah, intention, spirit, energy, all of the above.
and intention. I totally forgot about that one. So, and with your background in anthropology, how do you honor indigenous wisdom and other traditions in a way that's respectful?
I use my animal book. And I know that I'm very respectful of the animals and the messages that they have. One person who was indigenous once told me that if an animal comes to your fire at night when you're hunting or when you're out camping, that's a blessing. So I took that and I said, okay, how can I honor this? And I said, okay, well, when a person has a favorite animal, why is it their favorite? And isn't that the animal showing up for them? I said, yeah, it is. And then I said, okay, if I ask someone what their favorite animal is, I wonder how often the message in this book will apply to them. 99.9%.
Hmm.
So that's a way of honoring the indigenous background, and also using the libromancy for giving them what they need to hear. Another way that I do that is I carry sacred medicine with me at my shows, as you've seen the burn bundles that I have. So I sell that.
You've sell a whole bunch of different things, like the merch. I
Yeah.
don't do merch, but that's awesome. So that makes me think about the language you use. It's not just about words, but the symbols themselves, because symbols are really the heart of how spirit speaks. So we're back again, and we're going to talk about symbols, signs, and other tools. So, do you have a favorite card, archetype, or cultural symbol that keeps calling you back?
Angels.
Angels. Yeah, I kind
Angels,
of.
like, yeah. For me, it's angels. I mean, for example, during COVID, I saw that. I kind of. Well, maybe I shouldn't go there. Maybe I shouldn't go. I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
So yeah, so I do see angels. Angels in the sense that I felt their presence. I felt their power. So for me, angels are particular archetypes that I always come back to, as well as the circle. The circle is an indigenous thing, and they talk about the medicine wheel. And not now, I don't know very much about this, but I look at the circle as a wheel, and the medicine wheel that comes into play with regards to indigenous traditions that I've studied. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then again, the card that comes to mind for me, my most favorite card when I pull it for someone is the world card. Now, whether that's because it's a circle or not, I
I was thinking
associate the
that.
world. I associate the world card as the best card in any, because that means everything's coming close, and
Exactly.
you're going to get what you desire.
I love the world card. People. It shows up on a reading. And go, hey, things are gonna.
Look
You're
up for you.
you're looking up, and you are where you are, because my readings are all about making sure they're on the right path, not
Right.
deviating from it,
Right.
whether they know it or not. So, but
Mhm.
so is there what? So out of the favorite card archetype and cultural symbols, is there one that kind of still challenges you even after all these years?
That's a good question. I didn't really think about that. Is there a card that challenges?
It doesn't have to be tarot. It can be like an oracle
Yeah,
card.
there is one in this deck actually, believe it or not. It's the Four of Gabriel, or Four of uh, Raphael, I believe. I don't remember. I can't find it. course, when you want it, it never comes up. But it's the four Raphael, and it talks about how there are possibilities and things with the possibilities you're not, and that you're not seeing all the possibilities that exist. So you may want to read. And the other card that I think of, which also alludes to that, is the perspective card. There's a perspective card in this deck, and the perspective card, you can take it that it means you need to change your perspective, or that your perspective is incorrect, because it shows him standing on his hand, standing on one finger, with it bouncing all these balls on his arm, and it looks interesting. But those are the two cards I would say that challenge me.
Yeah, for me, it's the symbol for me is the snake, and I just recently found out that it's all about transformation. I thought it was like
100%.
Like snake is like kind of cunning, slithery, kind of, but somebody said it was like a transformation. I never thought of it like that. So. Well, it's fascinating, isn't it, that the very symbols that challenge us often end up being our teachers. So a lot of people misunderstand certain cards like death or even the practice of Reiki. So what is a misconception that you find yourself clearing up most with people?
With regards to the cards, is that like I had someone at one of the shows say, "You don't worship the devil, do you?" I'm like, "No. Oh, my cards are angel cards. Why would I do that?" So that's one. With regards to Reiki, it's that a lot of people still don't know what it is, and to them I say, Reiki is the universal love energy using me as the conduit to promote you to heal your body and aspects of your soul, and that's the best way I can explain that. But that's usually what comes up. Like, what is Reiki? What is Reiki?
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand what Reiki is, but it's just energy clearing, kind of cleansing too, unblocking some of your chakras, and it does have a lot of healing properties. Like, somebody who's performing it may kind of sense, a pancreas or something like that. I don't know, that may need to be healing, and so correct me if I'm wrong. So
no, you're right. I mean, you can. I actually learned recently that if you think about it, our body is a community. Believe it or not, our body's a community. So you can talk to your heart, and you can say, "Okay, heart, just calm down, relax, don't beat as fast," and it will. You can have an angry, which I've had recently because of the drinking I used to do, an angry liver, and you can say, "Okay, liver, here's what I'm going to do. If you calm down, I will stop drinking for a month." And it will
put that hamster on the wheel.
Exactly. So like there are different things that you can do, because we are a community, and after all, if we're in a community and we learn to talk to each other, like for example, Max is the head of the community, so to speak, or the mind of the community, right? But everything else has its own say as well, and it's what, how many cells are in the body, George? You know?
No, I have no idea. Billions.
Okay, let's say billions. So it's billions with me as the head, right? Me as the spokesperson, my consciousness as the spokesperson. So what I believe death to be is when this is disharmony and the majority rules. Do you understand what I mean? So like there's disharmony in most of the cells to continue my life purpose, right? I could want to live forever, but that doesn't necessarily.
Cells don't live forever; they degenerate and kind of.
But they also renew.
Create new. Yeah, they renew all the time. So
right.
Otherwise, we'd be deprecated, or what is it, decayed and stuff like that if the cells didn't renew. And
I can't remember if it's 7 years. Every 7 years you have a new body. I can't remember because in 7 years all your cells will die off and you'll have new cells. So I believe it's 7 years. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. People I look pretty young. I'm like 58, but a lot of people say I'm in my 40s.
Well, that's why we get the doppelganger, right?
Yeah. So, Well, being a Gemini, Geminis are always usually they look 10 years younger. So
Hmm.
with my Gemini rising, but back to our discussion. And when you reach for tools, are there certain decks, rituals, or practices that you always return to?
For example, like I said, my reading starts always with the deck I learned to read, and it will always have an angel message or an angel number or an animal message. So those are the things that I return to most often. Between the two.
Yeah, I mean, I love the like. I used to always grew up with the Rider Waite, but then when I saw the Lightseer deck, yeah, that's my go-to, and you know, I'm not broadening my horizon by picking other decks too, but I love that deck, and
Hmm.
it's the most resonates with me a lot,
Hmm.
and especially with the sitters too. So.
That's amazing.
And really, that ties into what happens when you're working with others, because those moments at the table can be some of the most revealing. So, welcome back. So, we're going to talk a little bit shop here. We're going to talk about reading for others. So Max, when clients come up to you, what do you wish they understood before sitting down with you?
That I don't play Tesla Psychic.
Yeah.
I hate Tesla Psychic. Um, not because
Okay.
not because I can't do it. It's just because it's just like really, if you there's so many other people here. If you don't like me, then go to them. Like it's almost an insult. Almost. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. But that's me. I don't know. Maybe others feel different about it. Um, like I was at one reading. I was at one place and they said, "I'm thinking of something. Can you tell me what I'm thinking of?" And I'm like, "Probably, but I'm not going to." And so I just said what the first thing that came to mind, which wasn't it, and I knew it wasn't it. Just to have the guy move on because I hate playing this.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
yeah.
I had just recently. I gave a quick reading, and she wanted to know about certain situation that's going on in her life and stuff like that. And it was kind of interesting. It was like the lovers came up, um, King of, I think it was the King of Swords or something like that.
Mm.
And I think it was like emotional. It was like the Nine of Cups that came up.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was kind of alluding to in my last two episodes, it's like she kind of missed of enjoying the situation now and not like she was so focused on like I get it, you know, she's kind of nervous about the whole thing, but
Mm.
she wasn't living in the now and enjoying what was going on now. So, and that's what the
Yeah.
kind of I kind of thought about afterwards, but yeah, it was it's quite interesting. But she, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just alluding to that, she says like, "Well, how come you didn't guess what a question I had?" Well, that's not the. This is the
That's
reading
Tesla
that you need
Psychic.
to get. That's a
That's Tesla
psychic.
Psychic. I hate Tesla
Yeah,
Psychic. Yeah,
yeah,
that's Tesla Psychic. Shouldn't you know what I'm here for? I'm like,
yeah.
no, no. What I really wish people knew is that a psychic reading is a two-way street. Like, I have to ask questions to
Yeah,
zero in on what you need to know. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just
yeah.
wish people knew. But then again,
I tell people at my table, it's like I'm not a mind reader, but I'm going to go through the cards and whatever resonates, um, you
yeah,
know, sticks with you, and then we'll expand more.
right.
And sometimes I don't get they don't get the reading to the question that they had in their mind, but only later to call me or you know send me an email saying, oh, you know, this was, you know, what you were talking about. Yeah, that happened like a couple of days later. That was
Hmm.
unexpected. It was about their son or daughter, or one of their kids or
Yeah,
something like that.
I had
And
one
that
of
was
those
who
actually.
that's who the message was really for. So, but
I actually had a client come to me and she's like, "Is there anyone with me?" I said, "Well, is your father with us?" And she said, "Yes, he's alive." I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes, he's alive." I said, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I went to his house last night." I said, "Okay." I don't know who this guy is, but he's adamant that he's your father. I can see him in my mind's eye, banging the table. I'm her father. Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay. Only to have the client call me back a week later or the following Monday to say, you know what? I just realized something. My father, my actual father who fathered me, was a firefighter, and I'm sitting at his memorial. So you're right, he was dead. And the reason I gave so much resistance was because I thought you were talking about my actual father, who I consider. And I'm like, so it's like, yeah. So when that happened, it's like, oh, interesting, because he was adamant. I'm her father.
Quite interesting. So, has there been a reading or a session that completely surprised you, even when maybe even shifted your own understanding about spirit?
Yes. I offered a friend of mine, a girl I used to date, I offered her a free reading because I found out her mom had passed away, and her mother was coming to me saying, I have this message for my daughter. I need you to give it to her. I need you to give it to her. And I'm talking, George, like I'm talking like an unknowing spirit that just like wakes you up at 4 in the morning all the time. I don't know if you had this experience yet, but it's just waking you up and just like, I need to tell you this. I need to tell you this. I need to tell her this. I need to tell her this. I'm like, okay. And I said, okay, you know what? I said, I've already offered her a free reading. If you want her to get your message, you got to bring her to me. Right? I said this to the spirit out loud. And the next day, guess who I get a call? Who's ready for her free reading? So anyways, I gave her the reading, and basically all the mother wanted to say was, "Thank you for taking care of me during my living days, but now you have to live your life." And that was it. And then once I gave that message, I mean, the reading that I gave was probably not the best. I probably wasn't spot on because it was early in my career. Um, but yeah, that was all the message that I needed to get.
Wow. I can feel that shift in that moment, even as you told it.
Mhm.
Those are the sessions that really stay with us. So
Right.
when heavier themes like grief, illness, or loss come up, how do you navigate those spaces while holding safety for your clients?
Well, what I
Those
do
are
is I
usually
just make,
tough.
yeah,
Those are
they are
usually
very
tough
tough.
ones. So
Yeah. So I always have tissues with me. If I don't, I make sure I go get some. Um, because I know I can trigger like some of the things that come out in the readings, especially when they're heavy, they're triggers. And I know that the triggering is necessary for their health. I know that. So I maintain my composure and I try not to sort of get overly associated with these because then I'll start to feel it. So by doing that, I hold space for them, and make sure that they know that they're loved and they're cared for because that's what they
kind of,
want.
yeah, and kind of being present with them. And
Well, that's it.
and I've had some clients that I've actually did readings for that these kind of things came up, and I was just present with them. Like they just
Yeah.
want somebody to talk and to understand and not judge them or whatever.
Right.
And those and they're usually happy. They'll take the
Yeah.
tissue because I learned the my first reading, and somebody ended up crying based on some of the reading I did, and I was like, oh crap, I don't have any tissues, but now I have tissues all the time. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and somebody told me, a couple of readers have said, hey, when you have somebody cry at one of your readings, those are the very best ones
Yeah. They are.
because they hit home. So
Yeah. They've hit home and they've felt something. You've elicited some feeling in them that has allowed them to move forward, which is a beautiful thing. And I think that's what
it's beautifully said too. So
thank you.
you kind of alluded to just a few moments ago, and finally, what kind of boundaries have you had to learn to hold as a practitioner?
Hmm.
Because you kind of alluded that in the last question. So
Yeah. So boundaries. Wow. Boundaries have been a lesson for me, and I didn't
isn't it
have
all
like
for
if,
us? So,
well, it is. Yeah. That's a weird thing. But I mean, what boundaries have I held? Well, so for example, if someone books a reading with me and they're 15 minutes late, depending on, well, that really hasn't happened, but it happened once. I actually refuse the reading. If they're not getting something out of the reading, I won't charge them. Those are boundaries for me, right? Because we could be all about the money and say, well, I gave you this reading anyway. But no, I mean, I've had a reading where I read this person. I was at one of my first shows where this person was looking for purpose. As he sat down, George, I kid you not, I heard a voice say, they have no purpose. Now, that's not a message I'm giving. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. And that's not a message I'm giving. So my whole reading was to try and give this person purpose. And, you know, I was looking at like hobbies. I was looking at different things that they like to do and just like flatlining nothing. So I said, you know, half hour came, half hour went, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't charge you in good faith for this reading. You got nothing out of it. So they responded by saying, I don't know what that means, but I know it means something. But yeah, that was a hard boundary to hold for myself.
I pretty good readings all along. 4 out of 5 or whatever, 9 out of 10 were all good readings, and people were happy. But you know, there's always that one. But I always kind of think of it as, hey, you know, I'm not the one to, you know, I kind of maybe a little bit self-critical sometimes of the reading I do, and going, you know, I should have done better. And I didn't feel that maybe I gave them, but you know, who knows? Maybe it's the message they needed to hear, just not at the time. And they can always come back to you, you know, but I've never had that happen. So
I've never had that happen either.
So, I mean, again, you know, as I kind of alluded before in one of my episodes, is that you know, we shouldn't be judging the readings. We're just a vessel, and
we're just a vessel. We don't know. But yeah,
so
we don't.
But
yeah, we don't. But this person in this reading that I gave her for free told me 4 times, I have no purpose. I have no purpose. I have no purpose. So
there was no encouraging cards for her?
There was encouraging cards, but they weren't receptive at all. So it's almost like, okay, so you're cursing yourself, because I really believe words can curse you. You're cursing yourself that you have no purpose. You come to me for a purpose. I'm trying to give you a purpose. You find nothing that I'm saying useful. How can I, in good faith, charge you for that? Right? So that, like, I was actually proud of myself for not charging, because I did spend time with her, and I did try to get her to see that we all have purpose, whether we want it or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Or open to it.
Or are open to it, exactly, because she was not.
Yeah. It's really hard to, especially with people in kind of a depressive state. It's hard to get through. And I always think of that 5 of Pentacles on the Light Seers. You know, it's the woman she's kind of had her head down, but you know, there's a key behind her. And you know, I always tell people, you just have to lift your head up and grab that key and unlock. And there's the door right there. So you got to open, but you have to physically get up from that state. So And I said there's no pressure, but I'm just saying that's the state. But you know, there is hope.
Of course, there's always hope. There's always hope. Always hope, and that's one of the things that I think that is an ongoing theme with me, because that's what I try to do. If I'm doing a reading, I want to give that person hope, right? Yeah. That's what I think my goal is to give them hope, right? And faith in themselves.
Yeah. My new tagline is tarot that empowers, and that's what my readings I ultimately want to have, is that it empowers a person to,
of course,
make their life a better place, or it's for their highest good that they need to do so. And that is my end goal for sitters that come to my table. But
as I think it is for most of us.
Yeah. And holding these boundaries is such an important part of our work too. And
it really is, yes. It really is.
Which makes me want to lighten up the mood a little bit as we head into a segment I call the lightning round. So we'll be back in a second. So Max, this is the lightning round, as I call it. And so it's just quick fire questions, first thing that comes into your mind. So here we go. Sun, moon, rising.
Moon.
Daily go-to, cards, runes, or energy work.
Energy work.
Shuffle, card, or spread.
All three.
All three. A spiritual book or teacher that changed your path.
So the book would be Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And the teacher would be my mentor, Christian Nielsen, who was who was an elemental shaman.
That's the older gentleman that kind of comes see you, right? No. Yeah, The Power of Now. Love his books, and yeah, we should all be present. We miss so much when we're not in the now and present of what's going on. You miss a lot of things. Instead of worrying about the past and worrying about the future, just stay present. Just enjoy life.
Enjoy your moment.
And I always say, just surrender. Things will happen. If things are meant to be, they're meant to be. They'll come. Right. So, and finally, a myth or story that lives in your bones.
It's on my phone, believe it or not. It's my story. And it's called The Man Who Overcame the Storm.
Is it a short story?
It is a short story. It's on my phone. I actually took pictures of all my tattoos, and I put it into a format, and ChatGPT came up with this, and I thought it was beautiful because it pretty much sums up my life. And it's basically talking about overcoming. It's talking about the fight between good and evil. It's talking about the light and spark that is protected. It talks about riding the dragon. It talks about the power as well that comes out of going through all these.
Perfect. Beautiful. So let's carry that lightness into our closing together. Welcome back. We're just about to close our session of this talk show. Max, would you like to pull a reading for all of us today?
I will. Yeah, for sure. Just give me one moment. I'm just going to go in here. And I have the Emperor.
Whoa.
So the Emperor's message is stability, efficiency, taking charge of a situation, and ambitious plans. This is the Archangel Uriel, who is the Archangel of esoteric knowledge, and providing the esoteric knowledge to humans. So stand in your Emperor power is what I'm getting from this. Bring stability and efficiency into whatever it is you're doing. You have to take charge of the situation and be ambitious. Like ambitious, like when you think if you think you're too ambitious, you're not ambitious enough. So to speak. Just continue and make it even more. This angel is standing in his power, as you can see, and that's the message: is for you to stand in your power and bring stability and efficiency to whatever it is, and take charge of that.
That's an awesome card for the week that we all have to show our kind of masculine energy and our emperor and our authenticity.
Yeah.
And
also, as you notice, George, there's a number 4 on it. So I'm gonna look at my angel number book.
Sure.
And I'm gonna read 4 to you if that's okay, because it's kind of like a message to me to do that. And it says, "Let truth be your teacher. Trust in all that you feel, and let joy lead."
Take that emperor energy and with that also. So, any final thoughts you would like to leave us, leave our listeners with?
Well, yes, there is one, and I say it all on my TikToks. We are spirit in a meat suit having a human experience. Make your experience the best it can be.
Awesome. That is a beautiful note to leave on. Max, thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom. And before we close, where can people find you and your work?
Well, my website is www.celestialharmony. I have to write it all out. Readings and Reiki, all written out.com. I am at Thrive, usually on Thursdays between 11 and 5. I will be at a Tea and Tarot on this Saturday, for the Putnam. I'm donating my readings for charity at that event, so you can get me there. Also, if you want, the way to get a hold of me is celestialharmony13@hotmail.com. Send me an email, or call my number. My number is on the website.
So all the links to contact Max and Celestial Harmony readings and Reiki will be found in the show notes. So hopefully people weren't frantically writing all that stuff down. But anyways, thank you, Max. Hope you have an awesome day.
Thank you, George. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you multiple successes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a fascinating episode this has been, filled with the insights and stories Max shared with us. We wandered well beyond tarot into the wider landscape of spirit. From his early fascination with the unseen, to the wisdom of anthropology and indigenous traditions, to the transformative experience of the Sweat Lodge, which was fascinating. We also touched on Reiki, the importance of creating safe and sacred spaces, and some surprising stories that revealed how divination and healing can arrive in many forms. Next time, we'll be circling back to the tarot more directly, exploring how cards can be used in everyday life, not just for the big questions, but for guidance in the small and ordinary moments that shape who we are. Thank you for joining us for this milestone episode, and thank you again to Max for being our very first guest on the Tarot Talk Show. And before we close, I'll leave you with this thought. Consider how spirit may be already speaking to you. Not through the cards, not through dreams, rituals, synchronicities, or the quiet moments you almost overlook. Whenever the signs appear, give yourself permission to listen. This is George Duss, and you're listening to the Tarot Talk Show podcast. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, stay curious, and remember, in the grand tarot spread of life, you hold the cards. I'll see you next time.